100 days. 100 days with no coffee. Y'all, if you could just really see how addicted to coffee I was 100 days ago, how impossible it sounded. My husband even said the other day, he's like, I literally can't believe you quit coffee. That's how addicted I really was. And if you feel addicted to coffee and you're not okay with it, I think this video is going to be really helpful for you. And if you're addicted to coffee and you're still not sure if you even care to give it up, I still think this video could be helpful for you. I did another video recently. It was 40 days without coffee, 60 days ago, I guess. And I've learned even more since then that I feel like can be helpful in the journey to just not letting coffee rule over you. One thing I said in that video was I felt like coffee was bossing me around, and I don't want to be bossed around anymore. I want to be able to enjoy coffee on my own terms and not feel like it's just ruling me. So if you can identify with that feeling, I just think this video has a lot to offer you. And in that 40 days without coffee, I actually share like day 1, day 2, day 3. And this video is going to be really different. I'm going to be sharing just like what I've learned, just maybe to give you a little bit more motivation if you feel like you're lacking that. But go back to that other video if you want to watch like day 1, day 2, day 3 kind of situation and see how it was so hard for me on day 1. So I'm going to share what I've learned, how it's changed me, what to be drinking instead, some just ideas, because you know, maybe you like the idea of something warm in your mug. Right here, I've got a cup of tea that is really good, and I found a good way to make it. I'm going to share that as well. I actually had a friend whose husband is from India teach me how to make like Indian chai. I'm going to share that with you as well. You need some replacements. It's kind of tough to just go from the habit of having something warm in your mug to nothing, so we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to talk about mouth health, because this is something that I've really learned since then, and I've seen my mouth health change. It's kind of a weird word, mouth health. My tongue health, like there's so much you can tell about your health in your mouth. And I knew my body wasn't responding well to coffee for several reasons I'll talk about, but I could really tell in my mouth. And so that's been an interesting one that I'd love to share with you as well. And finally, I'm going to share, am I ever going to have coffee again? Is it just something that I'm done with, or is there a capacity for me to possibly enjoy it here and there? So hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Lana. This is Girl Teach Me. This whole channel is about helping you become a better woman, a more exceptional woman. If that sounds good to you, I hope you'll hit subscribe. So the first thing I've learned is that it is possible to do just about anything. And if you can think about the hardest thing for you to quit, maybe it's coffee. I felt like for me, it was the thing that everything kind of hinged upon. In my mind, I felt like when I quit coffee, I could do anything. And I know that of course, there's limits on what I can do, but it just felt like the hardest thing in the world, the thing that like just really had me like a hook in me. And when I was able to say no to that, it felt like autonomy returned to me. There's something called an internal locus of control and an external locus of control. And they've shown that people that have internal locus of control, like they believe that they can, you know, change things themselves, like the whole world isn't just against them. External locus of control is I have no control of my life. All of my circumstances are just predetermined for me. That's how it kind of felt before, but when I put an end to it and I said, no, I'm done, and I muddled through it, that's when I felt like the internal locus of control returned to me. And then I started to see other parts of my life as like, okay, I'm not a victim to this. I can actually do something about it. With the internal locus of control, they've really seen that people just live a more fulfilled life because they feel like they can do something. They're happening to their life versus life happening to them. I talk about that in my video called You Can Still Change, where I walk through the victim, villain, hero guide model. Seeing the problem in my life and doing something about it really kicked me into hero mode. And heroes don't feel like heroes. They're just walking through something hard on the behalf of other people. And that was like my other motivation for quitting coffee, is that I struggle with motherhood anger. And I really felt like when I was stuck in that cycle of being addicted to coffee, I just felt like I was clinging to it. Like I had to have it. And then also it was making my mind just run really fast. Like my thoughts were just changing channels continually. And I felt like my cortisol levels were just really spiked. And so it just felt like I could be set off really easy, which I still struggle with that, but I don't struggle with it to the magnitude that I did when I was drinking that much coffee. So I knew that it was a change that I needed to make, not just for myself, but for my family as well. And so that was my extra motivation. And I think it really helps whenever you're trying to do something hard, that it's not just for yourself, but it's for others. But you know, honestly, if you can just enjoy a cup of coffee here and there, like That's amazing. For me, it just wasn't like that. It was just an addiction. It was to another level. So I knew I had to do something about it because I don't think there's anything wrong with coffee inherently. I don't think it's sinful. I don't think that it's really that bad for your health in moderation. I think a lot of things are moderation. It just was past moderation for me. So I think it's really just changed how I look at myself. I can do hard things, but also it's helped me see that when I start to do things over and over and over again and they're not good for me, that I'm falling into addictive cycles. And so maybe that's just being on my phone before bed, staying up a little bit too late, riding on a little bit of sleep, you name it. We can all fall into these destructive cycles that are just really not good for us. And so I think it's just recognizing like, hey, I'm in a destructive cycle and I need to do something about it. And I do have the power to do something about it. I'm not powerless to this thing. Now I might need help, which is the guide. I mean, that's like the victim, villain, hero guide model I talk about, is that you need a guide, you need help. So maybe this video can be a guide for you, just to tell you like, other people have quit coffee too. It's not stupid. I know that a lot of people, when I said I wanted to quit coffee, they were like, why do you want to quit coffee? And I'm like, okay, that's fine for you. Like, if you feel good with your coffee consumption, I'm not coming after your coffee consumption. I'm coming after mine. But I had a lot of people that were like, that's crazy, that's dumb, why would you want to do that? And I'm like, it's not going to make sense to other people. And so if you feel that tug inside of you that like, hey, enough is enough, other people are not going to understand. And I think that goes through other parts of our life too. What might be fine for one person is not fine for the other person. And it's just really a matter of conscience. And you're like, I know this is wrong for me. Then you just gotta stop and you gotta put your foot down and be like, okay, things have got to change. And having a guide, having other people who've done it too, it can be really, really helpful for you. And that reminds me, if you have quit coffee or if you are on the journey to quit coffee, would you tell me down in the comments below what has helped you? Share with others, because I think it's gonna be really helpful that I'm not the only person. I know there are other people here who have started this journey. So tell me down below what has been helpful to you. Okay, so let's talk about what to drink instead. So this right here is a cup of Yorkshire Gold. And this is like, I guess, a British tea. It's a black tea. And I steeped it for like 4 to 5 minutes. I added a little bit of local honey and then I added a little bit of heavy cream. I don't really like half and half, guys. I really like just a dash of heavy cream. It's really good. I will say, I think this can stain your teeth just about as bad as coffee. Maybe not as bad. But the one thing I do like about it is if I have a cup in the morning, which I don't have to have a cup in the morning. That's the crazy thing, is before it was like I have to have it. And I don't feel like that anymore. Hello?
Mom.
Yeah. Thank you, love. The thing is, I can have a cup of this in the morning if I want to. I don't have to. And then I can have a cup again in the afternoon. So right now it's like almost 3 p.m. I can drink this and I will sleep just fine. I could not do that if I had coffee. Like 1:30, if I went into 2 p.m., it changed my sleep that night. And it is not the same for tea. It doesn't have near the caffeine levels. I've had, on my last video, somebody was like, why would you quit coffee and then still drink caffeine? And I'm like, okay, but it's not the same. Like if you look at the levels of caffeine in black tea or matcha or green tea, it's just not the same. Like I could drink probably 3 of these to match 1 cup of coffee, or at least 2 of these to match 1 cup of coffee. And I wasn't drinking 1 cup, guys. I was making a whole French press and then drinking the whole French press. That was probably 2.5 cups. So it's just not the same for me. Here, this is full leaf tea. This is a loose leaf tea, so I'm gonna show you what it looks like. But what's been really nice about loose leaf tea is sometimes there's plastics in the tea bag. So I don't know necessarily about this one, this Yorkshire Gold, but they have found trace plastic. So you think about, you're heating up the tea bag and you're putting it in hot water and you're possibly getting plastics in your system, and that's just not good for your hormone health, amongst other things. So what's kind of cool is this loose leaf tea. These are even like cardamom pods that you can just like break open. But I put it inside of one of these like that. I just fill it up and then steep it according to the time and just put it down in there. This is like a little silicone, so that's safe. So I like, because they tell me at the bottom like 1 teaspoon with boiling water and steep 3 to 5 minutes. So that's been awesome. It smells really, really good. One thing I learned from my friend Marianne, who has had a lot of Indian chai, is that actually in India, they just typically do like a black tea. It's a certain type of black tea, and they actually boil it in milk. So that was really interesting. We did that together one day and that was so fun. We even used this tea from Full Leaf. She said that this one has a lot of different other spices that they may not necessarily use sometimes in India, so both have been really good. And I really loved this Organic Sleeping Tranquility tea before bed. That has been really, really nice too. It has a rubus, valerian root, peppermint, chamomile, and lavender. So I really like Full Leaf Tea Company. They're a great one. And it's been fun because that was one of my goals last year, was to get into loose leaf tea. But honestly, I had to quit coffee to even start that journey. So it's cool now to see that this is actually happening. This is another one that's pretty good. It's called Winter Wake Up Tea. I don't know if they still have it at Trader Joe's because it might be seasonal, but it's spicy black tea blend with cinnamon and ginger. The only thing I don't love about this is it has natural flavors, and I try to stay away from anything with that. But when I was trying to quit coffee, I just gave myself lots of grace, and I'm like, okay, I mean, if I have to drink a little bit of natural flavors to kick this issue, I'm gonna do it. And sometimes I would even double these up and let them steep for a while just to get that stronger flavor. But ultimately, I'd say if you want to quit coffee, have as much tea as you want. I mean, it's not going to be near as much as coffee. If you want to try matcha, you can. That's another way you can get in a little bit of caffeine in a warm mug. So I just started editing this video and I realized I forgot to talk about mouth health. And I know this is kind of odd with coffee, but one thing I learned by going to a more homeopathic dentist for my kids, because they kept getting cavities, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I think I'm a pretty healthy person. We don't do gummies and things like that. We don't do juice, all of that. So why are my kids getting cavities? And she said that honestly, one of the biggest pieces that's misunderstood about cavities and mouth health is the pH balance in your mouth. And when you're sipping on coffee all day long, or in the instance of the kids, when they're snacking all day long, they're constantly changing the pH balance of their mouth, and they really need like a 3-hour break in between snacks. So, you know, I'm a homeschool mom, the kids are grazing, but with being also a homeschool mom, I was sipping on coffee all day long, and people do this in offices too. It's really no different, but it's constantly changing the pH balance of your mouth to a more acidic level. And so simply by quitting coffee, I've noticed my mouth change a lot. And one thing I had on my mouth was like a white kind of layer. Honestly, I think it was candida on top of my tongue. And I know that kind of sounds gross, but you know, there's something called a tongue scraper where you literally like just take it and drag it across your tongue to get bacteria off your tongue. And that is just one of the ways you can help keep your mouth healthy. I really haven't had to do that as much because my mouth looks totally different. My tongue is not coated with white candida coating anymore. I think that because I'm not sipping on coffee all day, it's not changing that pH balance in my mouth. And I don't really know what that could do with candida. It's very interesting, but I've just noticed that. Also, my teeth are of course whiter because I'm not constantly staining my teeth with coffee. I am still drinking tea, and I think that is pretty staining as well. So I definitely don't think it's a perfect fix, but I've just noticed a really big change. Also, just in mouth sores and things like that, it just seems like my mouth is a lot healthier, which is indicative, I think, of, you know, your gut starts in your mouth. It's a whole system. And so I think it's just my body responding well to being done with coffee. So all in all, I feel like it's been a big win. I mean, just this weekend, I had a friend who I used to drink coffee with all the time come over. I made a good big French press full of coffee. It was very tempting because it was a quality brand that we were using of the coffee. It smelled delicious. But just like ultimately, I didn't want to go back. I just don't want to go back to that feeling. And I'm just not quite ready to have cups of coffee here and there with friends. I think I will get there. Like, I don't think I won't ever drink coffee again in my life, but I definitely changed my identity. Like, I am no longer a coffee drinker. It was very important for me to switch that in my mind. James Clear talks about that in Atomic Habits, that if somebody's trying to quit smoking, they're like, I'm sorry, I'm no longer a smoker. Not just I'm trying to quit smoking. So, changing that identity and how I thought about myself, like I'm a tea drinker, I'm not a coffee drinker, which still kind of makes me a little sad, guys, because I still love coffee, but maybe just in this season, it's not what's best for me. So let me know down in the comments what you felt like was helpful from this video, where you are on your coffee journey, what's been helpful to you. Tell other people, share. We can all learn from each other. And again, my name is Lana. This is Girl Teach Me. And if you just want to be a more exceptional woman, I hope you'll hit subscribe. And I'll see you again in the next video.
From generation to generation, passed down through every age, there's a story of a savior whose love will never change.